Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my viewers out there, whenever you're tuning in. I'm Jonathan Bengal here, host of the Naked Tax Talk, where babies, we bear down to the naked truth about who you are, about your money, and of course, about your business. And the reason for that, the why we're bearing down to that naked truth, is because what I know to be true is that when we improve upon the self, the business, which is a reflection of who we are, also improves. And the money, honeys, which is a reflection of who we are and our businesses, also improves. I'm often asked, Jonathan, why do you have to show up on your show naked? Well, the truth is that nakedness is equivalent to being courageous. And as taxpayers, the number one thing that you guys all fear out there is being naked, aka getting caught with your pants down and having to pay taxes to a government that doesn't even want your money. And better yet, you're also afraid of making more money under the assumption that you're going to pay more tax. But when you work with someone like myself, who's an IRS enrolled agent, a certified tax coach, and a certified tax planner, I think outside the box for my clients, as do my fellow peers. So I want to talk to you guys today about the importance of showing up. But what I mean like this is that showing up for your business so that your business can be promoted, so it can be seen, and so that it can be heard. Because the truth is Uncle Sam understands this number one human principle: the need to be seen and the need to be heard. And guess what? He wants the same thing for your business if you're an entrepreneur, which is why I'm really excited to bring on my really great friend and client and the like. His name is Jordan Bakare. He'll fix me later. And he actually is representing my client and also my production team as well, called Standout Universe of KDDM Incorporated. So without much further ado, I want to invite Jordan onto Naked Tax Talk. So hi,
How you
Jordan.
doing, Paul?
Welcome to Naked Tax Talk.
Oh, great. Hello, and thank you.
so Jordan, I wanted to bring you on because you are the man who works behind the scenes when it comes to business owners and trying to be seen and heard. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about what it is that Standout Universe is about, and how do you fit into that, and how do we help the entrepreneur to be seen and to be heard?
All right. Well, I first off, we're starting off with I would say that universe is about. First, we help a lot of entrepreneurs. We help speakers, coaches, authors, healers. A lot of these people are entering the online market, and so we help those people to get connected, to get seen. Usually, we do it with live events, but we also do client-based work. So we help people with individual promotion as well as event promotion.
Very nice. So
And
you go ahead.
that
Sorry.
as far as my part of the process, copywriter, marketer, general social media marketer, as well as project management. So and client fulfillment now. So
And client
been
fulfillment. Now, I think you have a
multiple roles.
don't you have an official title in the
I'm
in
a
KDDM?
vice president of client fulfillment. In fact, yes,
Love it. And you
as
also have
well
a
as the director of operations.
nice, lovely. That's awesome. Okay, so Jordan, so how long have you been in the world of helping out the speakers and the healers and so forth and so on, or the
We're
entrepreneur?
going on 7 years now.
Wow,
And
wow.
so I've been with the company since the beginning. We started off primarily just working through, actually, with a lot of medical businesses, billing and coding, so on and so forth, industries that people didn't really find to be like exciting. It was really fun to help and kind of give them a face and give them a brand and kind of help them discover themselves as like an actual brand that people were familiar with or a part of the business that people were familiar with, and that kind of just like kept going. And so we helped out nutritionists. We've done like a lot of spiritual coaches as well online, and that's kind of what got us international. We
Oh.
was working with spiritual coaches that evolved into business coaches as well as personal development. And so it's really been interesting to see how so many different people all require that one central service that is actually expressing yourself in the market.
That's really cool. And by the way, I got to tell the world out there that I'm coming from my backyard, so I don't have my cool, like, speakers or head microphone set up. So I apologize for the extra wind or the sirens, but I digress. So Jordan, I did not know that. So international. So what countries are we working with?
We have so far Canada. There was as well as, I don't want to get this wrong, but I want to say it was Portugal.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. We have one. We had one Portuguese client and one Colombian client last year, as well as we've done Russia.
Wow, that is freaking cool. So Standout Universe,
Oh, and we
um,
have a client in Sweden right now.
and
Shout out to Sweden.
fun, fun fact for you Swedish peeps right now. And if you are a taxpayer doing business both in the United States and in Sweden, today I found out by taking my own income tax treaty update course that right now, as of today, Sweden and the United States no longer have a tax treaty in place. It's expired, which means that if you're earning income in Sweden and the United States, or vice versa, or you're a resident of the States, or vice versa, you, my friends, will be subjected to double taxation currently. Fun fact.
Hmm.
So, okay. So, Jordan, so you guys help. So, you help you because you have because we're about to start a week of
The week
kindness
of kindness
and
and gratitude gift giveaway.
yeah. So, tell us a little bit about what that is, and because what I wanted to mention was like how you help the speakers become the speakers that they like me, like who I am today.
Mhm.
And you actually have a category for these particular speakers. But tell us a little bit about Week of Kindness and Gratitude giveaway. What is that about, and how did that get started?
So we, for many years, like the way that we were going to meet our clients, especially when as we were trying to enter the like online marketing space and like the speaker event space, because primarily at first we were doing like trade shows, like in like the bigger corporate, like those bigger corporate gatherings and networking events were where we got a lot of our clients in the past. And so then as we transitioned into online marketing, we were like, where do you go to meet a bunch of coaches at one time? Because we are B2B. We're not a B2C deal a lot of the time. Like we do take on individual clients, but we're mostly looking to team up with businesses. And so when we started going into those online events, there wasn't really a space for uh, just people who wanted to share a lot of the value and resources that their businesses that have, and like as well as the fact that a lot of those things, like people make these pages to give away those resources, but there's no one, they're not getting as much traffic as they could, so people aren't getting access to all these tools and all these things that coaches are just literally giving away. And so we were like, why don't we just make an event with our network of people who we've met over the years that does that. And it's done super well.
Because what you're alluding to, and this is something I did not know as a business owner, but the one thing that you're alluding to is this concept of when people meet us, we should have something that's available for them to take that's valuable and
Mm-hmm.
gives them information. And in exchange for that information, they're going to give us their contact information,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I guess this goes back to economics. Nothing is free.
Absolutely. And I think that that's one thing that gets overlooked a lot in terms of the world of marketing, is that it's always that you're kind of putting an empty hook out there. And that's not true. Like that's never true when you go fishing. So it's definitely not true in marketing. A lot of the time when you're reaching out to people and you're reaching out to any large audience, you have to be offering them something that they're interested in. Um, and so no matter how much like glitz and like there's a glitz and glamour side of it where they're looking at images, there's a value that has to be passed on first before those relationships are actually going to yield and convert anything.
It kind of reminds me of like a hookup site. So, where like you can put up your cute face and you might fill out the bio and talk about you like to read and like to spend sunsets by the ocean, right? But no one's going to really move forward unless you have something that they want,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's very similar, right?
Mm-hmm. And
And
like,
so go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I was just thinking about how during the like gift giveaways and stuff, that this is kind of also that opportunity for everyone to get together and be like, this person does have good stuff. We all get to like validate each other in like in the best way for a good reason.
Yeah, because like part of it is that we don't know what we it's difficult to assess someone's services unless we partake of it. And I guess the good analogy would be you go to the restaurant, or better yet, back in the day, remember when we had the malls? Remember that thing?
Oh wow.
Oh, I
I was
do miss
there
window
constantly.
shopping. So you remember that thing, the place, the mall? So it kind
Mhm,
of reminds me of like when you would walk, or even Costco. We all familiar with Costco, or even Sam's Club. But pre-pandemic, right?
mhm.
I call it BC, before COVID. Um, right, we all got these little food samples.
Oh, I so that brings me back to earlier jobs in my life because I was a many years mall employee. So those like food court sample things really impacted like which of those businesses got my money because I was going around to them every day. Like anytime that I'm going into the mall, like on my break to actually go get my lunch, like I'm still taking that tour of going to get all of the samples. And then from that, I was like, today the Greek place is really doing it, you know? Or like today that Cajun food place really cooked the bourbon chicken right because I could compare every time because I'm going all the time.
I mean, that is so important, right? Because that's exactly what we're talking about. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a morsel. And actually in marketing terms, there's an actual word for this, right?
Yeah, those are like we have so you have they some people call it a lead gen gift, some people call it an opt-in gift. And then you all like have depending on if it's an event, it's been referred to as an attendee gift. But all of those things are like the part of the because we have like there's a whole marketing funnel and process, as business owner. And so whenever you're going to bring people in and you're trying to attract people to your business, that is actually a key part in that process. Like, as something that we have like sometimes hour-long meetings about is what we're actually giving to the customer to get them to come and reviewing whether or not it's providing value in the right way to create, the right customer experience for the business.
If you had to compare different magnets, I've heard this term as well, right? Or like the
Mm-hmm.
gift and stuff like that. Um, and you had to compare it to like the food samples at the food court, at the malls, or at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which gifts do you find typically have the most bites out of? And then maybe do you see a repeat customer coming back?
It's really gonna be your things like it's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is the example for I think like a quality lead gen thing because it's simple, reproducible, and but it's also desirable. You know what you're getting with a chicken tender, but it is Chick-fil-A's ability to like that if you go on pretty much any day that those little chicken nugget things are going to be the same. So like regardless of if you're going to eat from there every day, you're going to their little appetizer thing just because like, oh, I like this, I like the little dipping sauce thing they give me, and so on and so forth. Whereas,
And,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, no, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I feel like some like comparatively, like some people's businesses and some people's lead magnets will be like the Sabaro pizza bit. It's very specific. Like in a way, because they used to do like it was specifically at the mall I guess I used to work at, but the pizza places will usually do like different kinds. They'll do like different toppings so they know that they won't just do like just pepperoni, so on and so forth. And I feel like for a lot of businesses, they try to do that with their lead magnet. They try to satisfy every type of customer, and so they're offering like a ton of different options, or they're like, come back to my site and you can set up your own special kind of consultation. Here are the 14 different consultations. But those options overwhelm people, whereas like the Chick-fil-A chicken tender lead magnet is going to be the same for the next 20 years. It's not offering you any because there's additional options.
Yeah.
It's simple, it's reproducible, and it's something that people want.
Simple, reproducible, and something that people want. You got me kind of thinking about my own, because I've got what we call the TODS experience. So that's the tax opportunity discovery session. And I guess you could say that's where we're going to have this conversation of how much taxes have you paid? What are you going to pay? And what you're not going to pay after working with me, right? And I realized though that I have like other links too, and maybe you're right. Maybe that is like there's some we got to just distill that down to its
Yeah,
simplest form.
the main thing there is like your lead magnet is happening in the context of someone else's business at all times. And so I try not to, like, if it's necessary, you can put in like a video link and and the actual call to action link. But really, everything should be tailored towards whatever action you want them to take, because they're moving on to the next thing. Like they just usually came from something. This is going to be part of their day's process to decide whether or not they're going to buy this, take this action, and then they're going to do something else. And like if you kind of keep that in mind, that like your lead magnet is like not the end point for the stuff that they're going to do, and you make it as easy for them to kind of interact, get in and get out, it becomes more effective.
It's interesting because my now former business coach, which because our contract ended, but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a shout out to you, Chevelle McPherson. So she's the one who kind of really hammered that into me and said, you always are wanting to guide the potential client, right, through the experience.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning to the end, and we're always trying to make that like this is the next step, this is the next step, this is the
Mm-hmm.
next step, and that's kind of what you were kind of talking about. And for me, I loved her analogy, and she said, think of it as like your blue ocean, and they're being put into your blue ocean, and they're going to swim around, and eventually they're going to nibble at these little parts, and eventually you're going to have them come. She called it the oval staircase, where they go up the oval staircase until they purchase the big ticket items from you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because, in the accounting world, we're so used to being distilled down to just a commodity that we have forgotten that what we do is extremely valuable
Oh,
and extremely
absolutely.
important. And I feel like with your help and with KDDM and Standout Universe, sorry, plus all my coaches, like I really feel like I'm being taught and I've been helped to be able to give my clients an experience and
Mm-hmm.
not just a transaction.
I think that it's starting to shift all of the business interactions that we have towards being more community focused. And that's been like a big benefit that I've seen just in the speaking and like a lot of the online marketing world, is that from starting to offer more and provide more value to as part of the process, and looking at it as more than just providing part of the process, but as providing an experience for the customer. I think that you're then able to, oh sorry, partners background, but I think that you're then able to bring people together in a larger way.
And I think that's it too, right? It's part of also like understanding that we have to shift our own mindset and to believe that we are offering an experience, we're offering more value to
Hmm.
change that person's life for the better. And in exchange, they're going to pay us.
Yeah, that like, and I think that a lot of the time, and this probably stems from the fact that both of my parents worked in maintenance, and so like they're not very recognized fields, and it's not a field where people recognize necessarily what that person does keeps their day-to-day process going. But that was something that I always saw because I just grew up around them. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed about like, and even when we're going to be doing Week of Kindness, you kind of get to see that all of these businesses, and a lot of them are in things like personal development and business development. They're not necessarily fields that people would think of when they say, "Oh, I'm going to go look at this how they are doing their marketing," or I'm going to go look at the inner workings. So I want to know the inner workings of how this business runs, and I want to like try to apply these things to my business. Until you kind of start to see that all of these interesting people, all of these like really motivational and inspirational people are all coming from those areas where you wouldn't even notice that I like that those things are going on in the background to make your life more interesting or accessible, so on and so forth.
That's awesome. So now what we should talk about is the week of kindness and giveaway, gratitude and give week of kindness
Kindness
and
and gratitude
gratitude
giveaway.
giveaway. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what can attendees expect from this experience.
So I'm just saying, like, I also sometimes get to go like as an attendee to these things, and you get so much stuff. And it's like not just your usual like PDFs and things like that, where it's like something that you're gonna have to read or you're gonna have to research, but you're also usually getting like straight up tools, like things that'll help you simplify your email, things that are gonna help, like the actual widgets and so forth that help businesses function more easily. Those things are also available in a lot of those gifts. And you're also getting like learning these techniques from like coaches from all over the world that are like the top specialists in these fields. And they just give that stuff away a lot of the time just for the sake of like, oh, hey, I want to help you to become more aware of not just my business, but of all these other people's businesses. And I think that that's also really cool to see is that uh, people start to, and usually as the event goes on, people start to kind of give more and more extravagant gifts uh, as a way of being like, oh, I can't believe this person's here and they just gave me that. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys this other crazy gift. So it's really good to tune in and leave it at least and attend because you never know what is going to show up or what's going to come out of like the gathering of all these different coaches.
So that's kind of interesting. So I, of course, I'm look at my holding my microphone. Um, so I actually am proud to say that I'm actually a what am I called again? A title
You're a
sponsor?
title sponsor.
Ooh la la. So
Yeah.
I'm a title sponsor. So I get a whole bunch of cool goodies. And in exchange, I'm also giving away some of my cool gifts. And I'm really excited to talk about tax secrets that will what do we say? It's gonna save your taxes and grow your business. I can't remember the exact title we came up with, but all I know is I'm gonna share some great stuff myself. And hello, if you're watching my show, you know that I got some great talent. But more importantly, I'm super excited to launch my new 5 easy steps to financial happiness. And Jordan is actually seeing it because he's actually helped me to work on it a lot as well. But I cannot wait to hand that out as my gift to others so that we as entrepreneurs can step into the greatness. And here's the thing, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're an accountant like me, and you're trying to grow your company and be seen as something that's more valuable and more worthy and not just a one night stand, all right? Because this is what the truth is. That's called a transaction. That's called one-time deal. We're not one-night stands anymore. We are highly elevated individuals that require a lot of attention. And so, am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like this is who we are. So I am super excited because I actually have a special giveaway that I'm actually going to be giving away. I'm giving away two things that each of the things I'm giving away, each of them. So I'm giving away two. Um, Individually, they're worth $1,297 to a
These are the things
lucky
we're talking
winner. And of course, what I'm giving away in terms of my overall gift, the value alone, it's going to be, it's like what, $47, $67, something like that, right? But the big ticket one that I'm super excited to give away are those two items, and I'm going to give away each of them is worth $1,297. So, with that, Jordan, if you, what's a tip that you would give somebody who's trying to be seen and heard for their businesses? What's a tip and just the tip?
So, so the main tip that I would give is actually to become a part of and to get onto events like this. And certainly you can get onto this event. We have the link that's available here. If you are a coach or a speaker who wants to get on, I wanted to go through. This is an excellent opportunity for me to go through what the categories are for the different types of speakers that we're bringing on for the event. And so we have business development, which is going to be all coaches that are going through and talking about how to actually grow your business and how to grow businesses in general. We have author development where, oh, sorry, my voice is cracking, but we have author development where we're going through to help people figure out how to get their books written, how to get their books published, how to self-publish. And like, we have people actually coming through who are part of entire networks of doing online publishing and online marketing. And then we have podcast production, where we're going through and actually helping people to get on the podcast. Like straight up, that's one of the coolest. We were just finishing and talking to one of the sponsors for that area today, and we have a person coming through that's going to be offering. I think people who have like their stuff together and they're ready to get onto podcasts, a way to start getting on a podcast literally as soon as the event's over. So,
And podcast is like the next level. Like I'm even thinking about converting my show Naked Text Talk Raw, not only from a video here on YouTube, and of course broadcasting to my different various destinations, but also turning it into a podcast. So I'm super excited to attend that. We're also going to have money, wealth management, or something like that, right?
mm-hmm.
I think
So
I'm,
no,
I'm
we're
also
going. Oh, there's still because there's 8 categories.
8 categories. Holy
Yeah,
macarons and
yeah.
cheese.
So we have wealth mastery, which is going to be you're the sponsor for that category, and we're actually talking about, and we want to have that separate from business development for that reason because we're talking about in that time period how the actual details of finances and how to grow that and looking at the financial aspects of your business. And so we're super happy to have you on and have you actually be able to go through and talk about the logistic side of that. Because I think that a lot of the time people think of wealth mastery and I think it's all mindset or like that it's going to be mostly about the ways that they think about their money. But I think that you also bring a grounding aspect to that and you bring the aspect that talks about what it takes to do that on paper as well as the mindset behind it.
Nice.
The next categories we have are going to be our sales and lead gen, and I swear we're coming out of the business area for all of you people out there who are like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a whole business event. So then we have health and wellness. We're going to be talking a lot about. We have some nutritionists coming on, people who do all sorts of different modalities of health and wellness. And so you have like your yoga people, you're going to have breath exercises. And a lot of the time, those people are doing having like mini sessions during the time that they're on. So I always think that that's like a fun like balance to it. You kind of have your wealth mastery person at the beginning of the day or your sales and lead gen person at the beginning of the day. And then you get to do your breath exercises later on and like relax and chill out. Not to say that wealth mastery has to be stressful, as Jonathan has proven.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I mean health. I mean we need our health obviously in order to continue to move forward in life. And it turns out there's a very special section of the law that allows us to create that in our businesses and allows our companies to actually deduct the medical cost portion, including out of pocket cost, and for my female entrepreneurs, feminine hygiene to their businesses as well. Um, what any other categories?
Yes, we have the final two are going to be personal development and spirituality. I am personally going to be on in the spirituality coach department. I have another business called Journeyman Coaching and Wellness, and so from the many years of working with speakers and coaches, I have taken my also college study of world religions and crafted my own speaking course or online course where I help people to learn more about kind of spiritual history. And so I'm going to be working in that category as well as me and probably I think we have 10 coaches that are all going to be in the spirituality area. And then on the personal development side, there's a lot we're talking about staying motivated and ways to really create a system for yourself that is helping you to grow that fulfillment in your life. Because I think that people don't often think about personal, I feel like spiritual coaches do kind of like infringe on the personal development coaching area. But I think that it's really important to highlight the way that these people are teaching you to have a system for staying motivated and a system for going through and handling those more methodical processes of your life outside of the part that's just building your own connection to faith and your connection to your own inner world.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is that, we all go through the ebb and flow of being a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a business owner, it can take a toll on us to constantly be motivated, to constantly keep that forward momentum pushing forward. And also, you mentioned that you kind of created your own like little like faith of sorts. And I don't know if you know this, but you can actually start your own actual church, aka
Mm-hmm.
religion. And what you get to do is you get to go file with the Internal Revenue Service a nonprofit status, and you would actually qualify as a religious organization. And all you have to do is I forget all the rules because I'm not a nonprofit specialist, but I know there's people out there that are. But
Mm-hmm.
here are the basics, right? You have to have a common belief. So if you've decided, oh, I have a common belief, I believe, if you say, I believe in like, I wanted to create a religion around music.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say that the common deity was time. Time was like God, right? So it's always going, right? Click, click,
Mm-hmm.
click. And so I realized that you have to have a common belief. So everyone has to believe in the same deity or the same whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to have a congregation. It has to be more than one person, right? So it could be you and me. It could be, you and like Todd or whoever else you want to invite, right? So you have to
Yeah.
have a few people. And then you have to have a common place of worship. So, I mean, if you're doing it online right now, this would be the common place to have a worship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have like some rituals or some kind of text or something
And
like that.
honestly, and that's actually one I'm super interested in. I think that we should do that. But also I think that in terms of like ritual, that people have a like view of it that it's something that is harder to access in their lives or something that they're not already doing. And I feel like a lot of the both in the spirituality coach and the personal development coach area that during this event is a place where you're kind of getting a lot of new perspectives on that because sometimes your rituals are things like the 10-minute jog that you do every day before work, and it really stems from the fact that by doing these things every day you're going to cultivate a deeper relationship with it and you're going to cultivate a deeper understanding of it naturally. And so, yes, some days it's just 10 minutes and it's just a jog. But on the day that something really impactful or a crisis happened to you the day before, that 10-minute jog can be everything between you having a horrible day and a great day at work. And I think that going in and having these people come together is going to show people a more well rounded approach to bringing up like or elevating themselves all around. Because I think it's very easy to get caught up in, I'm going to become more fit. And while I'm becoming more fit, my finances are slipping. Or while I'm becoming more business savvy, my personal connection to my family is withering, you know? But I think that having events like this, where we're bringing those people together who work in all of these areas, at the same time, kind of reminds you that your whole life can be uplifted and elevated at a singular moment. It doesn't have to be always this whirl or this sequence from one thing to the next.
That's a very valid point, because it is about bringing a lot of entrepreneurs together and inspiring entrepreneurs who really want to tap into what this is. And that's why, like today's title is like how the IRS encourages us to be seen and heard.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if we do not promote ourselves, then nobody knows that we exist, even as a person, right? Like if I don't
Mm-hmm.
put myself out there and at least meet some friends or whatever, I'll probably just wither away. In fact, not even that. That's why we can go online now and use, different online platforms to be seen and heard. Your
Mm-hmm.
business is no different. It needs to be seen, it needs to be heard, which leads us to the next segment, which is the portion of today's conversation where I answer your tax questions.
For
So
free.
for free. So Jordan, what is a tax question that you have that I can give you an answer to?
So, one of the things that I want to know, and I want to be able to share this with speakers as well, is what kind of deductions are available or out there for speakers?
So what we should know first of all is that I actually answer that question in detail in my number one best-selling book, The ABCs of Deductions: An Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write-Offs, which you can actually find it on Amazon for a good little $12.97. But I can tell you right now that the value is crazy, crazy worth a whole lot more. The ABCs of Deductions, I wrote this book to answer that question. What can we deduct as a business owner? So, what we have to do is we have to be able to answer two important questions. Is it necessary and is it ordinary what we're about to spend our money on? And so if it's ordinary, meaning it's something that is part of our profession, and is it necessary, meaning I have to spend the money in order to make money. And so for speakers, they're going to be entitled to all the same deductions that every entrepreneur basically is entitled to, because we're all on the same boat. But speakers are going to be a slightly different. So like if your business is strictly to speak, like let's say you're a paid speaker, that's all you do is deliver keynote speeches.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be entitled to all the same things that we're all entitled to: travel, meals at 100% only for 2021. The same types of deductions like employee benefits if you have employees. If you are a Schedule C filer, your home office deduction. So like the list goes on right there. I provide 26 of them in the book. And as speakers, we might,
The
if
whole
that is your
alphabet, I
if
see.
that is your sole profession, and that's your job, is to speak, and they pay you to speak, you might have a couple more extra deductions you might be able to tap into, but it's very difficult to prove. For example, I'm thinking of like if you wore a very specialized piece of clothing. Um, Sorry about that. Motorcycle went by.
Oh,
It's gonna be. I'm trying to think of like a piece of clothing that stands out. And here's the thing, right? So a lot of times, a lot of speakers they misconstrue the idea that, oh, I can write off my jackets and I can write off my pants and I can write off my t-shirts and my shoes and blah 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 blah.
mm-hmm.
Well, I got some sad news, and that is that the government basically struck that down and said, no, your clothing cannot be confused as ordinary from ordinary people. It's got to be like extravagant. It's got to be directly linked and connected to your business. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, the best way to prove and to position that, and this is the $1 million answer, is to actually slap your logo all over that shit.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep.
So even if I'm a speaker and I'm a paid speaker and I'm a professional speaker, like for example,
Mm.
everyone sees me in my fabulous jackets. Eventually, I'm actually going to have them embroidered with my company logo and my name on there, right? So now I've converted the piece of clothing from being just an ordinary t-shirt
Mm-hmm.
into now a business related piece of clothing. And that's important because the IRS has specifically said like it cannot not be this, it has to be completely distinguishable from an ordinary piece of clothing. So this involves a case of a nurse who claimed her scrubs from her as a deduction, scrubs,
Mm-hmm.
and her shoes because she had to wear special shoes being a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the government came back and said, yeah, but the truth is anybody can walk into a nurse scrub shop and buy scrubs, and there's no real differentiation, even though
She
we
works with,
know
yeah,
that
that's
it's
why she
doctors
needs
and
them.
nurses that wear scrubs.
Yeah, that's why she needs them. But yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So you got to slap that logo all over that
So
stuff.
did she? So was the solution there embroidering her name onto them or the name of the hospital onto them? Would that have
Well,
made
so
them?
it's about so think of it like this. Think of your clothing if you're a business owner. Think of your clothing as your billboard, right? It's advertising in many ways. So it's about again, it's about having your company seen and heard. So I'm not wearing clothes today, but if I was, I have some
Mhm,
polo shirts that has my company JB Financial on it. So when
mhm.
I'm walking around, right, everyone's seeing JB Financial, and some people might inquire, like, "Oh, what's that about?" And
Oh
then I
yeah,
get to brag, right? But the
absolutely.
point is, you're going to convert. So if you were brave enough, maybe you could take a pair. Oh, I'm just getting an idea. You could take a pair of shorts or a pair of pants. I probably would on the ass part. I'd probably put like naked tax talk, right? Because it's a
Mhm.
play on positioning,
Yeah,
right? So the concept is, yeah, the clothing cannot look like everybody else's. And the way we distinguish it is through slapping our logos on it. So it could be, and like, for example, my business, my third company is called J. Jonathan Bangle. That's my third business.
hmm,
So in reality, I would have Jonathan Bangle and my
yeah.
logo, right,
That's
which
what
is
I
the
was
smiley
wondering about
face.
because we have a lot of people in the coaching world where their name is the name of their business.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Yeah.
if
Use that
getting
name and slap the
embroidered,
logo.
yeah, getting embroidered, getting their stuff embroidered as long as they were using their name in the context of their name as the business name, then
Yes.
that would be tax deductible.
Yeah, potentially.
That's interesting.
And here's the other thing though. See, because when Uncle Sam comes a knocking, right? Because he's gonna come a knocking at some
Hmm.
point.
He doesn't have
Um,
anything else to do.
right. So he's gonna be like, so Jordan, so I see here you put down that you wrote off your polo shirts and your pants, and I also noticed you have laundering expense for laundering it, right?
Hmm.
And so I need proof. So then you're like, oh yeah, yeah. So here's the receipts, and he's like, that's cool. He's like, but can I actually see? Do you have pictures of you wearing said clothing? And
Hmm.
then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, because I was smart enough to hire me a cameraman to take pictures of me whilst on stage that's showing off the logo, right? So
Hmm.
it cannot be like just I this is me just thinking, okay? So I'm not giving
Hmm.
advice, but this is what I'm thinking. I
Hmm.
wouldn't have just my name, Jonathan Bengal, right there. I mean, that's my
Hmm.
company name, my third company.
Hmm.
But I need to actually see the logo, right?
Oh.
So you're right. A lot of speakers, a lot of coaches, they just use their name. Absolutely. And that's what happened to
Hmm.
me. That's how I ended up using Jonathan Bengal, right?
Hmm.
But we all have a graphic logo attached to those business names, don't
I
we?
see. I
So
see.
that's really going to be the distinguishing factor. So if you notice my logo, if you go to jonathanbengal.com, you'll notice that my main logo is actually my like a smiley face, and it has my different corporate colors integrated into it. So that alone by itself, right, is the logo part. So if I slap my name on there and then I've got the logo piece, boom,
Hmm.
bada bang, I'm in business. But if I just have just Jonathan Bengal on here, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
great. You're gonna have a hard time arguing that you
Hmm.
have something that's completely distinguishable from something else. So that's how I would handle the speakers thing. Now, here's something else about speakers, right? So back in the day before COVID, we used to pay for things like speakers and microphones and and noise cancellation things,
Yeah,
right? Like, right. So
absolutely.
we used to pay for all this shit, or the hotel rooms, right, to have the event in, all that other stuff. That's all related to the business in order to make money. Because you know what? Here's the truth. Here's the truth, Jordan.
Mhm.
Business is not, yes, business is about providing a service. Okay, we can agree to that. Business is about transforming lives. Okay, fine. But Uncle Sam could give two shits about that.
Mhm.
He don't care. What he cares is that, are you making money? Are you making a profit, Jordan? That's what he cares about.
Yeah.
That's all he cares about. Are you making a profit?
And so one of the interesting things there is that a lot of the time, one of the first things that we used to say that we have to teach clients is the value of their branding. And I think that you actually brought to light a whole different side of that, which is not just the way that people recognize your company, but as also the way that your company is distinguished from your life by the government. Though, like the fact that the branding can impact the way that that decision is viewed in like a on a tax side is something that I had never really crossed my mind before.
It never crossed my mind either until right now. But yeah, I mean, but it's true though. I mean, and this is what I teach in my class: rapid tax savings formula. We're actually going to start a new 5 week program. Comes out June the 14th. It's a Friday, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. So mark your calendars, and it's for the entrepreneur because that's where we go into detail about these concepts, and that's something I actually cover under the class called separation of self, and that is to understand that we are not our business and
Hmm.
our business is not us. And yes, we represent the business, and yes, our business takes up space and everything, but we have to actually move to an abstract point of view. We have to actually, it's like algebra. Remember learning algebra? Like, it's
Yes.
like A plus B equals 2, right? You're like, what the hell? What? Like, this was so abstract, man. Like, you have to get stoned to understand A plus B equals C, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
this is true. This is true as well with
I
the way
find
we see our
myself
business.
now at this point in my life going back and having to understand the stuff like I'm reteaching myself math, it feels like, because I'm having to do it as a business owner.
Yes.
um,
Yeah,
and
because
like I'm starting
yeah.
to have to think about those things that where I was in class, in high school, you're like, why are you showing me this? I'm never going to use algebra. I have a cell phone. And then lo and behold, there you are at your business, at your desk, like, oh, I need to learn algebra. Thank goodness for YouTube. That's all I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's the concept, right? So we have to think outside of ourselves and come to see that our company is not ourselves. And I have a whole technique that I walk my clients through to really grasp that.
Mhm.
And we spend time to really understand this concept because, like I said, I know this to be true. When I figured out that I was not my company, all right, this is what allowed me to not be afraid to A, make more money, and
Mhm.
B, it's what allowed me to create my two other companies. And as soon as I thought about them, because I understood the concept so well, I wasted no time bringing them to life. And I jokingly say, like, well, it's not actually, it's actually a truth. So, Naked Tax Talk is my unplanned pregnancy. I did not plan on having this company. I really didn't.
Mhm.
And I was at a tax conference and I kept getting asked, what's with the bathrobe? And I was like, I'm a host of a show called Naked Tax Talk, bear down the naked truth, right? And so I just said it. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But because I understood that my business is not me,
Mhm.
I was able to run upstairs and essentially create and give birth to Naked Tax Talk, which now actually, like, it's in the family. It supports
Yeah.
JB Financial, it supports jonathanbangle.com. Like, this is the power of learning how to separate ourselves from our businesses.
And in a
So
way, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I feel like there is a not to go too far on this tangent, but I do feel like there's a deeper spiritual truth that teaches people, that you're kind of highlighting there, which is by separating from something and finding where that boundary is between you and the thing that you're trying to do, you actually are creating more definition, you're creating more foundation for that thing. And a lot of people think that if I separate myself from it, if I am not thinking of myself as a part of it and every part of me is a part of it, that that is hurting the business in some way. But being able to take that step back and knowing how to take that step back really helps the business to develop and flourish.
That's exactly the truth, right? It's yes, and you're right, there is a spiritual component to this. I mean everyone knows by now, but if you don't know by now, I mean, I started studying Buddhism when I was 30, actually became a Buddhist, I guess you could say then. And in many ways I took to heart what I was learning from the great Buddha, and was able to, in my geniusness, I was able to translate the spiritual teachings of what I was being taught in the world of Buddhism and the practice of it, and convert that into my personal life, my business life, and my monetary life. And that's why I'm saying, like, if we can learn how to extrapolate and pull ourselves out, yet while still recognizing that we're all still the one, but yet different,
Mhm.
it's what allows us to go further. It's kind of like this. It's the concept, like, for example, for Christians, right? It's like there's the triad, right? It's the Father, the
Mhm.
Son, and the Holy Spirit,
Mhm.
and yet they're all one,
Yes.
and yet it's all me, right? He
Mhm.
resides in me, he is
Mhm.
me, right? And yet he's not. There's a God, a Jesus, and a Holy Spirit. So if
Mhm.
we can think of our businesses like that, then it helps us to begin that separation process. We're not saying
Mhm.
abandon the belief. We're not saying abandon your faith in exchange for, letting yourself go, or abandon your business so you can be free. No, 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 no. We're saying connect to them all so that we can see the boundaries that exist between them all, so that we can then call upon all of it at the same time to help us to achieve something greater in life. And in Buddhism, I learned that in all actuality, I'm experiencing heaven right now in this exact
Absolutely.
moment. And it's all about my mind that is creating this experience that's being pushed along by different things like karmic forces, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. And understanding that when shit's going down the drain, to be able to separate myself from the shit going down the drain and to go, oh, yeah, that's just part of X, Y, and Z. I'll recover. Life will get better. And in
Mhm.
business, it's the same thing. If the business starts to fail, we don't blame ourselves. We don't, no judgment, none of that. It's like, okay, it's my business that I had and it's kind of going away.
The
Preferably, I
oh.
like to say our businesses are our children. And I always tell my clients, if you can treat your business as if it's your child, then we will not violate it. Because I can guarantee you right now that 99.99% of parents that give birth to kids
Mhm.
do their best to protect them, to give
Mhm.
them the best, not to abuse them, right? Not to
Mhm.
use them or anything like that, right? It's all for the betterment of their child, to give them a better experience, to elevate them higher. And here's the truth: when the child grows up and is successful, hopefully they turn around and they take care of you in your old age. And
Mhm.
this is true of the business. If you set it up correctly in the very beginning, like a little infant, and raise it up. So now, like, I have an 18-year-old, his name is JB Financial. They can eventually
Mhm.
take over and start to take care of you in your old age as the owner of the business.
Mm. You're
That's where
not
we're
old.
trying to go, Jordan. That's where we're trying to go.
Also, you're not old. But
We're gonna get
but
there. We're gonna get there one thing. Okay, so we have like 8 more minutes for one more question. Hopefully, I can answer for you.
the other question that I have is in the vein of going and you're just like you were talking about with those deductions and ways to have your help your business take care of you. Is there something that these people can be doing that's going to help them to grow their money for the future? Like, what is the best what advice do you have as far as a business supplementing the wealth that they have?
So it depends, right? So if you're let's say, there's
And that's
multiple ways to
specific
look at it.
to speakers, to the speakers world in this context.
I would say, well, this applies to everybody, and that is as your business is growing. So first of all, let's talk about that. So your business requires clients, right? It requires customers to give you money.
Yes.
And in exchange for that money, you're going to give them the service. Okay, we're moving beyond that. So now what happens is the money comes into your checking account. And then you take that money and you have two choices. You can either spend it in your business to continue to grow your business, meaning you're investing in it like you would invest in yourself, like taking programs and courses to continue to accelerate who you are. Or you might just give it to yourself and then you go buy yourself your own toy or whatever you want, right? And I actually teach this in Rapid Tax Savings Formula. And we actually talk about what it means to do this, to take out money out of your business. When do you take money out of your business and how it impacts your bottom line? So eventually what happens is that you got, let's say, for example, all of a sudden you have money, you have a profit. That's what this is, right? My revenue is greater than what I spend in expenses equals profit. And so now I have profit. So I have a choice to make, right? So I reinvest it, I spend it in my company, right? So the only expense that a business owner actually has is tax. So if we know that we can mitigate the one expense to a business owner, then it frees up the cash to be used for other things that add investment to the company, like hiring BAs, hiring graphic people, hiring blah, 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 right? Hiring others to free up your time so that you can go do the thing that you do best, which is to make money. Now, eventually your business becomes what I would consider cash saturated. It's my term, TM. It's cash saturation. And when cash saturation occurs, I define that as when I've got so much money in my bank account that I can't even spend it anymore without really like upgrading to a new mansion, or maybe I buy 5 Teslas because I can, or you know what I mean? When we're at that level, then in my opinion, this is what we do. Then we turn around and we begin to strategically invest the money into tax-free or even taxable retirement vehicles. This is where the financial advisors of the world come out. And so one thing that financial advisors always preach about is taxes are going to be more expensive. Taxes are going to be more expensive. That's just their scare tactic, but I digress. So they'll say taxes are going to be more expensive. Taxes are going to be more expensive, right? But I always say, but what if I told you that today I can make your tax rate effective 10% and you still be making 7 figures, right? But anyways, so what happens is you can take this extra cash and now you strategically put it into these various accounts. As a business owner, the business, depending on its entity structure, which I teach in Rapid Tax Savings Formula, depending on the entity structure will determine the amounts I can contribute, who I can contribute for, the limits, and all that other fun stuff, whilst at the same time reducing my taxable income downward today for the benefit of tomorrow. Now, retirement vehicles like Roth IRAs, self-directed IRAs, self-directed Roths, traditional IRAs, things of that nature. There's other things we can do beyond that. For example, we can invest in other tax benefits like life insurance policies that have these cash values built into them. And it's a very complex formula. But the concept here is you got so much goddamn cash on your hands that we got to shield it. And so what we do is we overpay the premiums, we stash it into, they call it self-banking, but you put all this money into the life insurance policy, and you got to wait about 10 years, give or take, for it to build its cash surrender value. And then you can technically borrow against that money tax-free, because here's why it's tax-free, Jordan. Every time that I contribute money to something, and there is no tax deduction allowed to me as the taxpayer, that income theoretically is now going to be tax-free because I didn't get a benefit day one when I did something with it. So that's the reward I get versus, take, for example, a traditional IRA. So traditional IRA, I forget what the limits are because that's not my wheelhouse. But let's say, for example, I think this year the maximum contribution is like $6,000 or something like that. I don't even know. So let's say that $6,000 is the amount I can give away. Well, on my personal tax return, we call this an above a line deduction. I would see a $6,000 adjustment to the income, meaning that my income's going to come down. The taxable portion comes down, right? So that's why a traditional IRA, when I retire, when I'm 59 and a half years old or older, and I start pulling on it, it's going to be taxable. The distributions will be taxable, right? However, a Roth, on the other hand, I forget the limits on that too, but let's say it's 6,000. I don't know. Double check me, right? Experts out there. But let's say it's $6,000 to a Roth IRA. And on my tax return, I'm going to see a $0 amount, a deduction. Thereby, my income stays the same and I'm still going to pay taxes. So when I go to retire at 59 and a half or whatever, and I start to withdraw the distributions from the Roth IRA, it's tax free because I didn't get a benefit the first year that I contributed it to it. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's really interesting because I'd always just assumed, like, I guess you feel like taxes are just a part of the transaction. A lot of the time that don't often think about like the taxes that I'm being taxed for things like ever coming back to me necessarily, unless it's like income tax. So
Yeah, I mean, every function in our society, there's taxes, right? You're right. We don't often think about it. You've got sales tax, property tax, inheritance tax, income tax, self-employment tax, FICA tax, employer tax, right? There's just fucking tax
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. And it's always kind of been, even for the way that I was brought up, like talking to my family about it and stuff, it's always seemed as though it was just you're being taxed for being a part of society or for using these things. You're just already being taxed because you owe the government stuff, you know? But
Well, and
from the way that it sounds now, it sounds as though like the actions that you're taking literally at that time are like, you are putting money into the system, but you can also find ways and expect for there to be ways for you to get that money back.
yeah, and I mean, let's not forget, like, my goal is not to eliminate all tax, all right? My goal is to mitigate the tax. Because the truth is that we all drive on the same highways and the same roads. We send our kids to public education, right? We have certain welfare programs and different programs that take care of the super poor. And I come from that, so I know what this is like, right? So we all need taxes to support government and government actions that really support us at the time of need, right? And so there's that. So the government basically is incentivizing you, though, at the same time. And think about this for a moment. Tax is the way in which government governs its people. So think about that. It's all about incentivizing us to take action. And where we really see it come to life is on the entrepreneurship side first. Because Uncle Sam says, I want you to be successful. I want you to be a conglomerate. And in exchange for being a moneymaker and creating jobs and giving people an opportunity and helping them put food on their plate and giving them shelter and having food and transportation, by you as a business owner attempting to do that wise, valiant action, in exchange, I'm going to let you deduct the expenses that are necessary and ordinary for you to do that, whilst at the same time making a profit and keeping that money for you to fulfill not only your dreams, but the dreams of your family and for generations to come.
That is brilliant. And I feel that makes me feel a lot more courageous about being a business owner.
We got to take this clip. We got to pick this clip. That was a great comment. No, but it's true though. I mean, that is the thing, right? So I'll give you a classic example. Here's a classic example of how taxes work and how government incentivizes us. All right. So, for example, pre the 2018 Tax Jobs Creation Act, Tax Cuts Creation Act, whatever the hell that was called, TGACT. Before all of that, right, here's how government plays a role in our bedroom. Are you ready? So Uncle Sam was like, all right, well, two people get married. Yay, yay, yay. And as a result, we basically double up, like the standard deduction and some credits and blah, blah, blah. We double it up because there's two peeps, right? But then you go to Uncle Sam and you're like, my girlfriend, my wife and I, we're not talking terms no more. And so we're going to file a married filing separate tax return. So
Mhm.
Uncle Sam's like, you can do what now? So you two now are like not living together in a household because you're married and you're going to be off all fooling around doing your things separately. Well, guess what, fools? You're going to pay a little bit more in taxes than a single person or a married couple because you are choosing to separate and not officially divorce each other.
Wow. You don't say.
Uh-huh.
That's outrageous.
Uh-huh. Let me give you another example of how Uncle Sam plays in this. So Uncle Sam, I think it was in 2000, I want to say 14. When did like all of a sudden we started seeing those Humvees? You remember seeing those Humvees everywhere?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Okay. So I think that was like in the early teens, I want to say, like I don't
Mhm.
know, or late 07s or
Yeah.
something. It
Yeah.
was back when I was young. So, anyways, so back then, Uncle Sam had a rule. In fact, it's still kind of in play today. And that rule was that if you purchased a vehicle that weighed more than 6,000 pounds, okay, 6,000 goddamn pounds,
Mhm.
you as a business, and you bought it for the business, and you were using it in the business, you were entitled to take what they called a bonus depreciation, meaning acceleration of the depreciation expense. So that Humvee that let's say you paid 100 grand for,
Mhm.
you were as a business owner entitled to take, let's say, $50,000 of it as an expense, thereby cutting my tax bill downward, thereby adding more money in my pocketbook to go spend however I want. So what you saw were a lot of business owners, by the advice of us, the accountants, saying to our
Mhm.
business owners,
Go
go
buy
buy
a
yourself
Humvee.
a Humvee. As
Yeah.
long as it's for business, go for it. So
Yeah.
that's how all of us in. So this is how Uncle Sam plays
That's
a
so
role.
interesting because I remember that as kind of a cultural phenomenon. And I don't know, I didn't know why it happened at the time. Like I was just like, yeah, sure, that's the thing people cars are doing. But there it like was this like a national undercurrent, propelling that like a financial undercurrent that pushes that decision to be being made on a large scale. And it's funny because I think that culture wise, you can see where there was like for that time period where you had friends that had Humvees and stuff like that. There's like a whole I guess like vibe or like type of person that gravitated towards or that you associated with having those Humvees. And so like I just wonder how much of that, how much of that was just from the business owners themselves then becoming together, having made the same choice, or how much of it came from the stylization of it being a cultural thing.
Well, first it's going to be the businesses, right? Because always
Hmm.
remember this: business is what drives the economy. I mean, I'm going to
Yeah.
break it down to you. It's not it's sort of the consumer, but it's the business first, right?
Hmm.
Because they're the ones who are
Because
receiving the incentive.
one of the things that I've learned from even just this last 6 years is people forget that businesses themselves, business owners and businesses themselves, are also still a consumer. Businesses are not an island. Like we buy a lot of stuff just for our own company that we need to do the things that we do. And so,
I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you.
yep.
So businesses do not consume. They do not
Mm,
consume. They invest.
mm,
They invest. They do not consume. Because if they consumed, they would not be allowed to deduct that on their taxes. They
oh,
invest. You see,
hmm,
when I invest with you, when I have you help me with my copywriting, all
mhm,
right, so I invest with you. I'm
mhm,
investing in my company because here's what happens. My company brand, my company everything, it accelerates, doesn't it? I start getting more clients, therefore I start making more money. And what did I
mhm,
tell you? Uncle Sam wants you to make money, honey, right? So it's an investment versus if I'm a consumer, I go and a, a, a I buy a TV for
mhm,
personal use. I'm consuming, right? I'm not investing.
mhm,
I'm
mhm,
consuming. So so I don't want you to I want you to just know that we invest. When we're business owners, the only expense is
mhm.
tax. Everything else is an
Is an investment.
investment.
That does make sense. I see what you mean there. Hmm.
Yes. And so, I was going to say, here's a prediction coming from moi today, May
Mhm.
20th. Happy birthday, mom, by the way. She's 64 today. I think she's up there, but I digress. So happy birthday, mom. I'll sing happy birthday in a minute. But so here's what I'm going to say though. So here's my prediction coming from the moi. Okay. This is my prediction. So there was a new truck that was just launched in America. And I don't know if you heard about this, but Ford just released its Ford F-150 fully electric truck. All right.
Huh.
Fully electric. So I'm going to tell you right now, Jordan, that probably in the next few months, maybe in the next year, we're going to see first Uncle Sam creating an incentive for business owners. Go spend more than buy a truck that's over 6,000 pounds as long as it's being used in business, blah, blah, blah. And in exchange, you're going to get so much down for depreciation. But here's something else that's even sweeter. Uncle Sam can use a deduction to incentivize us. It can also use a tax credit to incentivize us.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we just went through a pandemic, did we not? Or we're still going through one, but did we
Yep.
not? How many Americans did we lose in 1 year?
I have no idea. But a
Over
lot.
500,000 people. Don't you remember on the news? There were like over 500,000 Americans' lives were lost to COVID, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably more than that now, maybe six,
Mm-hmm.
700,000 people. Imagine, Jordan, let's just go with 700,000 people. Those are 700,000 people that are no longer consuming, investing, and paying taxes, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
gone. Poof. Toodles
Mm-hmm.
noodles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And America has a problem right now. And you know what this problem is? The production of people, right?
Huh.
We're
Yeah.
not producing kids fast enough, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So guess what Uncle Sam is doing now starting in 2021 to incentivize you and me to have kids?
I'm assuming giving you credits for kids.
That's correct. And more importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan signed by Biden on 2020,
Mm-hmm.
is to now advance that tax credit up to $300 per child per month, 6 years old and under, or $250 per child over the age of 6 years old. They're going to advance it to you, meaning starting July 15th, you got some children, they are going to start getting a paycheck from the government. So you know what happens to me is I go, damn, man, if I could have a kid, I could go have one, right? Because all of
Yeah.
a sudden, I'm going to get me a $250 or $300 check a month
Mm-hmm.
to have a kid.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you lots of people are going to go start getting knocked up because in a lot of times, a lot of people go, that's a free paycheck to have kids.
Long-term consequences, everyone. But
Well, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because that came out in my newsletter. So let's talk about that. So
I,
Uncle
go ahead.
Sam is daring. All right. So this is what he's doing. So he's saying to us, Jordan, saying to us, go have babies, and we'll help you to support those babies. Like I said, 300 bones, under 6, over 6, 250. He's like, go have babies, right? But what he's not telling you is a dirty little secret, and no one's talking about it yet until I am. And that is that these tax credits are what we call non-refundable, meaning that if your income changes, if your job changes, if something changes in your life that changes your income, Uncle Sam's going to say, guess what, Jordan? You know that money I gave you for having all those kids? You remember that money, right? I was giving it all to you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I spent it on different things. And then he's going to be like, so your income changed and now you owe me money. You owe me you owe that money back because you didn't need it because you were wealthy enough to have those kids on your own.
Yeah.
And so now people are going to have a surprise tax bill in their hands.
Well, and I think that in a if one of the currents there was to stimulate people to have more kids, that then later on having the people pay that money back after they've had these children that they were encouraged to have is not morally correct.
So this right because that's the thing, right?
That's me and my spiritual advisor hat. But
we
yes,
have
also
that's why we as taxpayers have to reach out to our Congress members and say to them, hey, we understand that you're giving us this money in advance. And if you don't fix the law, there's a lot of households that are going to be poorer than where they were because you
Hmm.
didn't explain to them that they're going to have to pay this shit back if their income changes.
Exactly. Yeah. That,
Right?
and I think that that also goes into the amount of trust people have about the financial help that they receive from the government in the future, because if we have underhanded tactics and stuff like that with stimuluses, then people aren't going to be as excited, which when they receive them in the future, which hampers the helping of the economy to get back to where it's supposed to be. And so it's like, ultimately, for the system to keep working, you want people to stay informed. You want them to stay, excited to actually get that help that they need.
Yeah, that's the ultimate truth. So this is what I'm going to say. We got to wrap up this call because I got to
Yes.
pee real bad. So
Okay.
what I'm going to say out there is that if you're watching this episode now or post production or whatever, and you would like to learn how to step into your brilliance and become an awesome entrepreneur, join us. The Week of Kindness and Gratitude giveaway. It's going to start in June, but we're looking right now for you to participate and get your hands on a whole bunch of goodies to help to continue to empower you and to make you something awesome because we know you are. And
Hmm.
last but not least, but listen, if you're an entrepreneur and you are struggling with this idea of what? Separation of self? Like, I'm not my business? What does that mean? Or better yet, I'm afraid to make money because I'll pay more in taxes. Then join my class, Rapid Tax Savings Formula. I'm going to put the link here right now. Um, and I want you to come join it because I have a little bit of a secret. My coach told me I have to give myself a pay raise, which means that I'm increasing my price to my tickets. So if I were you, I would get in there right now before I start to raise those prices because my coach said I had to give myself a pay raise. So
Yeah.
with that, Jordan, thank you so much for being here. If you are
This is great.
interested in
Thank you
being
for having me.
yeah, of course. So, with that, I thank you so much. Remember, if you're in business, make sure that you're seen and heard. One way to do this is to invest with us in the Week of Kindness and Gratitude giveaway. Invest in my program, Rapid Tax Savings Formula. Invest in the book that I wrote for you guys, The ABCs of Deductions, an Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write Offs. So until then, always remember this. The reason why we went into business, and let's be real, was to make mucho, mucho, mucho dinero. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Bengal here with Naked Tax Talk. Thank you so much, Jordan, for joining me. And again, Afidas in. Until next time. Oh, before I go, I have a terrible voice. I apologize in advance. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear mom. Happy birthday to you. All right.
Happy birthday. Okay.
Bye.